right, so welcome back to another Off the Shelf. I'm very excited to return to this series. It will be the third video I think we've done on this series. It's Remarried Empress. I have volumes 4 and 5 here. Um, so I'm pretty happy that I'm pretty happy that we got to read 2 volumes together this time. And I think they're an interesting pair of volumes when combined because by by the start of volume 4, we've already got, you know, intense tension between the Emperor and the Empress. And then through volume 5, we're dealing with kind of the interactions between the four of them: T.H.E, Sauve shit, Heinery, and Navier. And honestly, I think T.H.E's really starting to show her colors. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not quite getting.
Oh shit, I counted wrong. Sorry, volumes 3 and 4. I'm an idiot. Sorry, I just got the announcement on Webtoon that volume 5 was coming out in March, so I was thinking about volume 5 in my head.
I don't. I think while we are seeing trashed as colors here, true colors. I think she's definitively in the chaotic stupid camp, in my opinion.
I don't know, man. She ripped the feathers out of that bird. The poor bird. The
But
bird
like
did not deserve it.
everything she's doing has been very, very reactionary.
True, and really the stupidest part was her coming in the same color dress to the ball.
Hmm.
Like, oh God, why would you do that? That's just a bad decision on all accounts. Why would you set yourself up like that to be directly compared to the Empress when you know that the only thing technically on your side is that the Emperor currently favors you? That's it. Like, you're not good at anything else. The nobles don't like you. You don't observe social niceties. Oof, I would not have.
So I'm sure Seki won't be too happy about this, but I feel like I kind of need to tear this band-aid off, given that we reference this a couple times in future off the shelves, and it's going to explain like my thoughts on this are almost entirely contextualized by this. This is not the first time we've recorded this episode.
Yeah, so actually I have a fully edited and ready to publish version of the Remarried Empress Volume 4, and I forgot to ever give you Volume 3 to read. Well, because I think in my head, I think what I thought had happened is I thought we did 1 and 2 together, which we didn't. Turns out we did them separately, I think. And then I thought I had given, because I got 3, and then we were talking about doing 2 books at a time instead of one, and I kept 3 on my shelf. And when I got 4, I think I just in my head assumed that I had already given you 3 to read, and that you would just be able to read 4, and then we could talk about I don't know what was going through my head, but for some reason I thought you'd already read book 3 and that we were on to book 4. And so you read book 4 and we reviewed book 4, and you weren't super happy about it because you were like, it's missing a lot. And that was me. It was missing me because I'm chaotic stupid.
So it wasn't quite that it was missing a lot so much as it felt like when I read it, it felt like, oh, this is another day in the life of we're in this really, really dysfunctional court, which it kind of is because
Yeah.
it felt like things were just kind of coming up.
Mhm. Because
And it turns out it felt like that because I had missed an entire volume of setup. So I'd gone from one arc straight into it's effectively approaching the peak of another.
Yeah, because volume 4 it ties up a lot of loose ends, and kind of continues plot lines started in volume 3, to be honest.
The
Um,
reason this I had to bring this up, and there's no way around it, is because in future off the shelves we referenced the fact that I wasn't very happy in that discussion, and I kind of wish that we recorded more than or we did more than one of these at a time because it would have helped um, make sure that things weren't
Well, no,
going
we
from one moment
didn't.
to the next.
Having just published and reviewed that, we didn't actually have a discussion. That was not what you were unhappy about. We got into the discussion because I mentioned the dress scene with the same dress on both of them, and you didn't remember that because that's in volume three, which you didn't read. Because I just edited that video a couple weeks ago.
But I did remember. I don't know how much I remembered at the time of the recording, but I did remember that that happened in general because they do flash back to that moment when they're talking about it in volume four,
Yeah.
and that's why when we
No, they
discussed.
don't.
I swear to God, they talked about it because it was what it was the Empress's motivation to do like something specific in that volume.
No, because I reread it myself, and it's not. They don't flash back to that moment at all. Yeah. No, I just read it this morning. They don't flash back to that.
And I don't know.
Yeah. No, either way, we you didn't read volume 3 and it fucked up volume 4 for you. And that was my fault because I thought we'd already done volume 3 for some strange reason in my head. Which is maybe to be fair, that's probably a symptom of doing so many of these style of books in a row like we did at the end of last year. Was it was just really everything got a little hard to keep track of at a certain point. Like I couldn't remember what we were reading, what we had already read. Um, and sort of where things were happening. And it doesn't help that most of these series is I'm much further ahead than you because I either read them all the way to the end or I'm currently keeping up with them. And so for me, sometimes I can't remember where the volumes are supposed to cut off. So I think something's included and then it's not, or I think something's going to happen earlier and then it turns out it happened later because I was binge reading it and it seemed shorter to me. Um, so yeah, that one's on me. So technically this is a re-record. Uh, so volume three. Yeah,
It was. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I like volume three. I think it's fucking great, and I think a lot of that is because eh, like volume three is really when it seems like the Empress and Trashta kind of set themselves against one another. Like even if not in the most extreme that they can be opposing one another, they are like I think Navier realizes that she's no longer able to just ignore Rashta, and Rashta realizes that if she wants power, she doesn't need to just have the Emperor's ear, she also needs Navier to be gone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry, I'm shuffling through memories of reading volume three right now.
Yeah, it's to be fair, we did have a set of weeks where you were ready to record this and then I was not and then you were sick. So it's been a hot minute since you read this.
Um, I think for me, the moment that stands out the most, and this is a moment that worked a lot better on reread, was in volume four. Trashta comes up to the Empress and is like, the Emperor told me that you'll be raising my children or something like that. And in volume three, you actually have to see the Emperor telling her something to that effect.
Mm-hmm.
So it sets it up a lot better than just Trashta coming in and being like, "Hey, nani nani boo boo."
Yeah, especially because Rashta thinks that this is kind of a way for her to, she still thinks that maybe she can like turn this in her favor and be like, "Hey, you're raising my child. We should be like sisters." And you'll raise him like your own. And Navier's like, "That's not my child. I will raise it if Soveshu tells me to, but it's not mine, and it's not the heir to the throne, and it won't be the heir to the throne." Unless something extenuating happens. Yeah,
Genuinely, though, that child would be much better off.
it really would be. Also, we get interactions with her brother, who I love, Lord Covier. Yeah. Who has supposedly stabbed. No, that was Viscount Landes.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, because she was fucking around with the countess or whatever. Yeah. And then Heinrich is crowned in volume 4. His brother dies, he returns home, and he is crowned king of the Western Empire, I think. I think he's the king of the Western Empire. Yeah. Mm.
I know there was that one ally of the Empress who basically was going to be executed in Volume 3, and she
It,
manages to,
it
using
it
her position, lower that to just be a, was it a banishment?
banishment. It was the man who was in love with the Duchess that Trashta got ousted from high society over like rumors of her, like she got a divorce going for this woman over like rumors of her infidelity. And then Viscount Landes, that was his name, he tried to attack her. And then Navier used her like imperial pardon to get it downgraded to exile.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was, back to this, that was another scene in Volume 4 that was like, okay, when I read it the first time.
Yeah, because they're in the gardens and
And he's just someone who is briefly mentioned and then gets executed at the end. Not executed, but assassinated or something at the end of the volume. And then you actually have to
yeah.
like read the previous volume to get an idea of, oh yeah, that's why they were after him.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Man, I really fucked that up.
Yeah, you did.
Hey, at least you did get to read it eventually. And the Viscount that Trashta was on his estate as a slave, it gets more and more influence through volume 4. And you can
He's
really
been getting more and more influence, though. That's just the perpetual situation he and Trashta are in.
I know, and
And you know, it's kind of his angle.
I kind of admire him for it. Shoot for the stars, you know? Also, we've got I'm kind of glad we didn't see Grand Duke Kaufman in volume 4, because I feel like we got a lot of him in volume 1 and 2, and the whole like love potion thing was a little fucking weird. So I'm glad that we didn't really see him at all in volume 4. Like his storyline at this point in time has ended,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm a fan of that. Yeah, because it was getting a little weird with like 3 men fighting over her, like in some weird way, even though she had like no expressed interest in 2 of them in that way. Technically 3 of them.
I don't know, it seemed pretty par for the course for the genre.
Yeah, but not for this particular
No.
series. This series doesn't seem to be trying to ride its laurels of creating like a harem for the main character to have all fall in love with her and then serve her in different ways before she makes a decision. No. Sauve shit is shit. Kaufman is under a love potion and she has no interest. And Heinrich is sweet, but currently unattainable. Yeah. And I kind of like that. Like it's in a lot of ways it's refreshing given how many. And to be fair, this is not an isekai. This is not a reincarnation or transmigration or a rebirth story. I mean, sometimes I think sometimes we forget that, but this is not a rebirth or an isekai story. Like this is just
Just high
fantasy.
society
Yeah.
fantasy.
Yeah, it's just high society fantasy. And I kind of appreciate that. It's a nice refreshing change, I say. But But speaking of having reviewed volumes 3 and 4 this morning, we are not as far along as I thought we were. And maybe that's because I've been keeping up via Webtoon. But yeah, I keep wanting to mention things that are happening much further along. And then I'm like, wait, that's not in the books yet. Because we still haven't, I mean, I'm gonna be honest, we're not even at the point of like the scene in the first book, the divorce. We're
No.
getting there, but we're not quite there, which it is taking forever.
Yeah, and I brought when we recorded Volume 4 originally. I don't know. It might have been you that brought up that specific example, but I did bring up that it felt like we weren't going anywhere very fast, and apparently we aren't.
Man, I'm really hoping it's happening in volume 5 maybe. I'm gonna be honest, my reckoning between the chapters included in the books and like the chapters on Webtoon is, oh, it is separated by episode count.
Oh, did you look at that?
So I don't typically, I just ignore the chapter titles in manhwa because usually it's some arbitrary chapter count that's more related to the web novel it's based on than the webtoon. But no, this is episode counts.
I don't think that was one. There was one series where we read it, and it was like, oh no, this just isn't identifying where we're at all.
Yeah, no, no, more than one. There were several. But
Yeah.
yeah, we should get the divorce in the next volume then, based on these episode counts. I mean, if it looks like we're covering about 12 episodes a volume, so I think the first season is 70 episodes. This goes up to episode 58, so that'll actually cover us to the end of the season in volume 5. Interesting. Interesting. I mean, I would have maybe chosen to publish this in 4 volumes and make them a little thicker. A la Who Made Me a Princess or A Stepmother's Marchen, which are both thicker volumes. But I mean, that's kind of on my end mostly because I'm reading ahead, and so I feel the slowness of it in comparison to how I read it, which was in a binge, because I think when I started reading it, like 20 or 30 episodes were already out. No. I started reading it probably at about 20 episodes, and then after that I just kept up with it. Yeah.
Well, let's be honest here. You're really, really spoiled by like these giant like Taco Bon collections. Like you have a Fruits Basket, and I have Pokemon.
Yeah, yeah, I really am. I think I love reading finished series and like long finished series because there's a lot for me to like binge into, because if I really like a series, I am just going to completely binge my way through all of it. You know what I mean?
Much harder. I'd argue that's probably the most efficient way of reading this because this is a lot of. It's like Game of Thrones I've brought up in the past. Like
Mhm.
it's easier to see where things are changing when you're watching it all at once, and like the changes in status quo are a little bit more obvious when you're reading it. Like, and it's been like the way I'm reading it, and it's been months at a time. Certain plot lines may as well not have happened.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, it's somewhat worse and the same for me because like right now I'm currently catching up with the currently released episode. So I'm on episode like 132. This goes up to episode 58. I am significantly past this. I am in season 3. This is still in season 1. And I don't know, I think by naming things like season 1, season 2, I tend to think of like season 1 as like a single volume in a lot of ways. Like it never gets released as a single volume because that would be a lot. But like, oh god, hold on. It's 8. Yes, I know it's 8 a.m. phone. Sorry, that was my normal alarm time. It's 8 a.m. on
Saturday
weekends.
alarms, gross.
I keep a Saturday and a Sunday alarm just because if I don't, sometimes I'll like sleep until like 2 in the afternoon and then waste the day. You know,
If only.
it's because I stay up late on Friday nights, like traditionally. Normally on Friday nights, I'm up till like midnight or 1 or 2 in the morning. I know you were up till like 1 in the morning, and
I
so
was up
was
pretty late
I.
last night.
Yeah, because I saw you messaging in the group chat.
I responded to a post Realm made. It was a pretty funny post too.
I did not even look at it because I was going to bed. I was
He
like,
was
nope.
it was a post on Japanese isekai versus American isekai. The Japanese
Oh.
isekai was it's a little like the everyone's generalization of the Japanese isekai. The American isekai actually found an American isekai movie where the character goes to a fantasy world and has like a shotgun, and he's just like, "This is my boomstick. You don't listen to me." Then he shoots like an orc or something.
That sounds weirdly familiar.
It's like a Twitter X thing. If you click into it, it's
Yeah.
like 5 seconds.
Jesus. Oh
Now it
yeah.
might sound familiar because I've definitely seen that plot line done in like random fan fiction before, but
Oh, which speaking of, I did end up a couple like a month or two back in a discussion with one of our commenters. I looked up the difference between isekai and transmigration novels, and there is a difference.
okay.
So turns out that the biggest difference is that in an isekai, right, traditionally, your entire being as you is transported into another world after your death. In transmigration novels, only your soul moves and it replaces the soul of someone else.
Okay.
So there is a difference.
Go back to the library, nerd.
Are you? No, you're being mean.
Yes, I am.
That's genuinely an interesting difference because it does change the structure of the story you're reading. Because if you are your own character, you can make your own story, right? If you are your own character, you have pretty much complete autonomy. But if you're inhabiting the body of someone else who's already established in a world, you do not have complete autonomy.
I tend to think that I'd rather my isekais do something different from each other. So I don't tend to think of them in terms of how their story structure similarities are. I tend to think of them in the this isekai is boring as shit.
Well, I'm sorry. I just think it's an interesting distinction to make because it does mean something in terms of story and the way that our characters are going about stuff. Granted, it's irrelevant to this book, but I just thought it was interesting.
Like I'm firmly in the camp of it really means nothing in the grand scheme of things when we're call it with how broad the umbrella of isekai is.
Yeah, but you wouldn't call a transmigration an isekai, and you wouldn't call an isekai a transmigration. Not if there's a distinct difference, and that's a pretty fucking
No,
distinct
I would.
difference. Well, then you're ignoring a fairly distinct difference that changes the setup of a story.
Because that's just the definition of isekai that boomed over. Because isekai is not a real genre in the first place. It's a generalization for a story trope.
Okay. That ship has sailed. You could really no longer make that argument because shonen and shoujo also are technically not genres. They're ratings for gender and age, and yet they are genres.
Yeah, I guess. But my my,
Ergo,
my big point is
isekai is a
in
genre.
the formative isekais were all over the goddamn place while that genre was being
Yes, but isekai
conceived.
is a genre. It is a genre you can search by. It is now. It may not have been at the beginning, neither would transmigration, but they are now genre. This is the evolution of a trope into a genre because if you see something that is an isekai, it's tagged in the genres along with whatever else it is, just like a shonen is.
I don't know. This just feels especially
All right,
too ticky tacky, but that's my opinion.
you can disrespect the things I found online all you want.
Look, I'm just saying you're a nerd.
Hot meat kettle. And look, a black cat. Anyways, it technically the distinction is irrelevant to this book because this book is neither. I just thought I'd bring it up because had this discussion with a commenter who was asking if there is a difference. And I had an idea, like I had a definition of what the difference was, and then I ended up looking it up, and it was slightly different from what I had, but kind of the same. And it was because we had this discussion in the episode. So Anyways, I just thought I'd bring that up. With that being said, though, I am surprised that Heinrich is now like just away in book 4, you know? Like
Which one
he's
was
been
Henry?
that's the king of the other kingdom who likes her.
Oh
The
yeah,
nice
yeah.
one, the bird boy. But they're
Burb.
still sending letters and it's so cute. It really is.
You know what? If I can comment, I feel like he's been kind of. It's cute as far as the actual like drama of the series go. He has been wholly irrelevant sometimes. It sometimes feels like he's in a different book.
Oh yeah, because like he's not facilitating any of the stuff that's happening with Soveshu, Rashta, and Navier. He's just hearing kind of the end product of it and sort of emotionally involved with Navier.
I feel like and I'm sure this will happen. I feel like he needs to step into the story more at some point because as it stands now, he's Navier's manic pixie dream girl.
I love that for him though. And it is once again, I mean, obviously retrospective based on everything else we read. It is refreshing that he is not sitting there scheming to destroy their marriage. Like Sauve shit is doing that all on his own, and good for him. Be a go getter, mansplain, manipulate male wife.
You know, I wanted to drop a Star Wars quote, but I realized it would be wholly lost on you.
I, you could try.
You turned her against me. You did that yourself. You don't know that one off the top of your head.
Is it from the mainline movies?
1 through 7 or 1 through 9. Yeah, it's from one of those movies.
Yeah. Is it about okay?
Yeah.
I mean, I would have guessed Ray, I think, immediately.
No,
Yeah, okay.
you are in the complete wrong end of the timeline.
Leia?
Nope.
You were right. I don't get it. Mostly because I have trouble remembering female characters in Star Wars outside of the two of them. And I know that's terrible, but I do.
Being fair, the
Padme?
romance in the movie. Yeah.
Oh, you're fuck, I forgot about movies 1, 2, and 3.
And this is why I knew. Look, you don't
What
understand. 1, 2, and 3 has some of the most quotable lines for how often bad they're delivered because of the direction, but that's not the point of this discussion.
no, you're right. Padme came to mind, but I said mainline movies, and in my head that only translated to 4 through 9. Because I don't
There, there are people that would fight you for saying that, by the way.
I'm sure there are. I watched them when I was younger, but I haven't watched them since, and I remember barely anything outside of what I've seen on social media. And I don't have copies of the movies, so I didn't go and watch them. And I know they're on Disney Plus now, but I'm not watching Disney Plus because I'm boycotting them. So I don't have a copy. I only have 4, 5, and 6 on DVD. And God knows I never rewatched 7, 8, and 9. That was one and done. I am not watching that shit show again. I am not putting myself through that emotional trauma. I have, however, watched Rogue One like 3 times.
See, that's the one people like, though, from the new movies.
Yeah, Rogue One was good. But yeah, no, I thought of Padme, but then I was like, no, that's not mainline.
Look,
Completely ignoring the fact that that is the root of like this entire fucking series is Padme and Anakin and the fucking twins.
here's the problem here. If people are quoting really, really weird lines, 99% of the time it's 1 through 3.
Yeah,
I got a
because
few from the other movies I like, but it's 1 through 3 90% of the time.
yeah. Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. I got it in the end. I got it in the end. Anyways, but yeah. I don't know. I think the more I return to this series after reading so many transmigration novels, the more this series is just refreshing.
I mean, it's certainly not the same as the other ones we've read, which is good.
Yup. And I like that. I think it's a nice palate cleanser while not stepping completely outside of the setting. Because that is that I mean the setting is the consistency with the other transmigration novels we're reading. It's this high fantasy European like nobility sort of. That's the consistency between all of them.
I call the genre vaguely European.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I have such opinions on that because I think it's really interesting to see authors do like fantasy nobility, right? Especially in manhwa and stuff like and manga because it's like the architecture is always vaguely European, let's say like 17th to 19th century, because I've seen things that look like Russian palaces. You see things that look like traditional castles, seen castles with moats, like so obviously the setting is like those big palaces and castles. But then if you look at the clothing, 90% of the time, right? There's there's like this strange mix of like what is definitely historically inspired European like nobility wear, but then they'll randomly throw in things with like a super high leg slit up to like the thigh or like an open back or like a Japanese or Chinese style dressing gown or something like the dude will be wearing like European royalty military wear in 90% of his like appearances in public and then he'll be wearing like a yukata when he's in the palace chilling
Look, I'm going to
like
be fair
open
here.
chest.
The reason you go for vaguely European is not because you're trying to go for historical accuracy.
No, no, I don't think they are at all. I really like this kind of like fantasy Europe vibe. I just think it's so funny that they'll be like, "Ooh, look at them all out here in these like fantasy European inspired dresses." And then like at home they're like, "I am wearing an open-chested yukata." Like 99% of the time or like the dress I am wearing is now inspired by other fashions. So it's very even though it's like European inspired, the Asian influence is so strong. And it shows up in the strangest of ways and it really just adds to the fantasy of it all because you look at it and you're not trying to slot it into a specific time period because you can't. Although I will say I did read one recently that was going by like genuine European fashion from a specific time period and it was absolutely jarring because like they were talking about like the popularity of like stays and underpinnings and like layers. I don't know, it was jarring. Especially because it was like Victorian England fashion, like very specifically these like this like off the kind of off the shoulder slightly v-neck and the giant mutton chop sleeves and stuff. I It was just weird, but I do kind of love that like mix up of like fantasy because it's fun. Historical clothing was, like court clothing was interesting and colorful and elaborate and like a show of wealth and often subject to sumptuary laws. And I personally think sumptuary laws are fascinating because the idea that you create actual laws to restrict what people can wear, what colors or patterns or fabrics or designs based on their social class, because you want to protect some sort of thing that you like to be only for you. I love it. And it's just so pretty. Like, in all honesty, it's just pretty, and I like that. But knowing that book 5 will be the end of season 1, I don't know if they'll be taking a break before they release books for season 2 or if they'll keep on the current release schedule of books because they do have all of season 2 to get through before season 3 starts. Um, so it might be a while before we were to come back if we keep up with 2 books at a time.
Honestly, I'd rather finish off the season since that's a good endpoint there, and then we can wait how many volumes we want to wait after that.
Okay, just putting that out there. So then we'll probably do 5 on its own and kind of finish out this season 1 of this webtoon. Do you have any final thoughts about it?
I mean, not really. I'm still enjoying it despite my purposeful poking here.
I mean, I know you're enjoying it more than some of the other ones I've showed you, or you wouldn't be willing to read 5 volumes of it. Because, like, genuinely, if you really didn't like a particular series, I wouldn't make you continue it. Like,
I
there's no
have voiced my
point.
discontent with reading a series before. I was like,
Y-
oh god, this one again.
Yeah, and we haven't returned to that series. Wait,
No, we haven't.
okay, okay. I was like, I'm not making you keep because it's not conducive to enjoying what you read to read things that you don't enjoy. It becomes like a school assignment, and then you just stop enjoying it. So I'm glad you're still enjoying it because I am rolling in the season 3 drama work right now, like existing in it. I can't wait till we get there.
Somebody help me here. All of season two at once, right? Right.
Well, I mean, technically, I could make you do that by using Webtoon because I think they're all readable on Webtoon right now. Like I don't think you're on a because so Remarried Empress, one of the things I like about it is as far as I'm aware, it has not locked its chapters to like a once every 3 days or pay to read formula. The most recent chapters, like the recent 5, are pay to view when they come out, but then they come out for free within a couple of weeks. So technically, you would be able to just read through all of season 2, I think, in one go. And season 2 is actually a little bit shorter because the artist had some health issues. And so they ended it early and took a little bit of a longer break so that they could properly produce season 3, which is going to be a little bit longer than season 2 because of that.
Something to
So,
consider after maybe taking a break between seasons.
yeah, yeah. Um, because I don't think like I'm at episode 161 and I am definitely like at least 30 episodes into season 3. So like season 2 only could have been, like 40, 50 episodes, maybe 60 at most. So,
Yeah, so we probably could and should do that all at once then.
yeah, yeah. And like I said, it should be available on Webtoon for you to read. It is one of the series that we are currently reading that is technically available legally on Webtoon as well as in paper. So, something to keep in mind. We will probably do that just so you can get caught up a little faster. um, but yeah, I guess that's it for me.
Yeah, I've got nothing else to say.
All right. So we will talk to you guys next time.
Yep. Bye.
Like, comment, subscribe.